Welcome to the Collide Kids Podcast, hosted by Christen Clark. This is a show for kids and families. You are going to meet new people and have fun while you listen. Let's do it!
Hey, y'all, welcome to the Collide Kids Podcast. I'm your host, Christen Clark. The Collide Kids Podcast is a show for kids and families where we learn together how life and faith collide. I am so glad you're listening today. Today's episode is really a special one for me. I have someone on the show that I have admired for a really long time, someone whose music has been a huge part of my own ministry journey. If you've spent any time in kids ministry, chances are you've sung along with Uncle Charlie. His songs like Fruit of the Spirit and Making Melodies have helped so many kids and adults, myself included, hide God's word in their heart. And I can still remember using his music as a kids worship leader. And honestly, he is the reason that I can say the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. See, thank you, Uncle Charlie. But what is even more amazing than the music is the man behind it. Charlie Bancroft, known to so many as Uncle Charlie, has spent over 40 years in ministry, from youth pastor to leading kids in worship all across the country. And through every season, God is using his story, both incredible moments and some really tough circumstances, to point kids and all of us really back to Jesus. These days, he is continuing that mission in some powerful ways through Carlitos, the Be Brave monkey, bringing comfort, hope, and truth to kids who are walking through some really hard things. And fun fact, with all those monkeys, he basically considers himself a zookeeper. So, hey, we have a zookeeper on the show today. I'll be honest, this is really a full circle moment for me, because since I started my podcast back in 2020, I've had this little dream guest list in my head of just people I really admire, people who have shaped my ministry from a distance. And Uncle Charlie has been on that list from the very beginning. So today is going to be really, really meaningful. I can't wait for you to hear his story and his heart and the ways that God is still using him. Here is my conversation with Uncle Charlie. Well, Uncle Charlie, I'm so honored to have you on the Collide Kids podcast today.
Thank you so much, Christen. It's good to be with you. I'm excited about this little chat hour together.
We're going to have so much fun today. I can't wait. Would you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yes, my name is Charlie Bancroft, and I'm really known as Uncle Charlie. Been known as Uncle Charlie since the year 1999, so it's been a while.
Yeah.
And so I used to do a lot of kids worship music, but then I morphed into another ministry with a plush monkey. His name is Carlitos, and Carlitos means little Charlie in Espanol. And so he is a plush monkey, he's a comfort monkey, and I give him away to kids that are fighting life's toughest battles, and we can explain a little bit more about that in a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's a way to get the gospel into the hands of kids who are just going through a really rough time, whether it be in a hospital or whether it be a foster child or whatever. There's so many different kinds of kids that we help with Carlitos. But it's all about just bringing the light of Jesus into their dark little world, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and God has used it in ways that I can never imagine. I just call myself a glorified zookeeper. That's pretty much.
I like that.
You
That's
try
good.
feeding a garage full of monkeys, you know? I mean, come on. I mean, they eat 3 times a day, for crying out loud. But anyway.
Now,
So
what do
that's the way
plush
I'm doing it.
monkeys eat?
Would you believe plus bananas? What's
Good answer. Good answer. Well, I'm really excited to talk with you today. But before we do that, because this is a show for kids, I always ask my guest to tell me something funny or tell me a joke. So what do you have
Ah,
for us today?
so I was thinking, with Mother's Day coming up, I got to thinking about some of the mom-isms that moms always use, the things that we
Yes.
grew up with, and those little sayings that we laugh at and say that we'll never say, but we end up saying them to our kids, right?
Absolutely.
My mom always had some. And so I made up this little list, and half of it's mine and half of it I have to give credit to Chat GPT, okay? So
Okay.
so I came up with this little top 10 list of things that I learned from mom, things that mom taught me growing up, okay? You ready?
Okay. I
Let's
love
see if you
this.
can relate to any of these. So number
Okay.
number number 10, mom taught me about religion. She would say, You better pray that will come out of that carpet. Have you ever been there?
That's right. Yes.
Number 9, Mom taught me about weather. This room looks like a tornado went through it.
I've said that.
Yeah. Mom taught me about anticipation. Just wait till your daddy gets home.
Yes.
Mhm. How about number 7? Mom taught me about economics.
Mm.
Do you think I'm made of money? And then Mom taught me about forestry. Money doesn't grow on trees, you know.
That is so true.
Yep, yep, yeah. Then Mom taught me about farming. Close that door. Were you born in a barn? Were you ever told that one as a kid?
Yeah, something like that. Yes,
My
for
mom used a
sure.
lot of barn analogies. I don't know. I don't get it. So here's number 5. Mom taught me about stamina. You're gonna sit there until all that spinach is finished.
Oh, yeah, that's a tough one.
Stamina, yep. Mom taught me about the circle of life. This one scares me. I brought you into this world, boy. I can take
I
you out.
can take you out. That's right.
And then number 2, Mom taught me about lending a helping hand. You better wipe that smile off your face or I'm gonna wipe it off for you.
That was so helpful.
Yeah, thank you, Mom. And then Mom taught me about self-sacrifice, the one that everybody knows. This is gonna hurt me worse than it's gonna hurt you.
Mm,
Self-sacrifice.
so
Gotta
so
thank you.
giving.
Right. I thought maybe a lot of moms out there could relate.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah, and we're like, "Yep, I've said that one, I've said that one." Yeah,
I think
just
I
going off
said
the
them all
checklist.
already too. I mean,
That's
yeah.
right. Well,
But,
let's talk a little bit about your story. First of all, I have to tell you that I know all of the fruit of the spirit because of you. And I think there's thousands of other people, hundreds of thousands of other people. And the only way that they know the fruit of the spirit is because we have to do the hand jive. Yeah,
oh,
love, joy,
yes.
peace, patience, kind of, yeah, because of you. So thank you for teaching me the fruit of the spirit. And
That
that's
is so
because
awesome.
you had such an amazing music ministry for so long. Tell us a little bit about that. How did you get started in
Yeah.
music?
Oh, wow. Well, before I was even entering the whole music thing, I was a youth pastor for 21 years in a local church in Oklahoma and in Texas. And so I had only worked with teenagers, never worked with children in my entire life.
Mhm.
Well, I felt at age 40, that magic age,
Mhm.
that God was calling me to start my own ministry. And I really thought that ministry was going to be for teenage boys. You're not going to believe this or not, but back in the day, and now this is back in the day, okay? So I'm not like name dropping or anything like now because he probably didn't even remember me. But Chris Tomlin and I were buddies. And
Oh.
yeah, we had talked together about a ministry for teenage boys together called Young Men of Integrity. I wanted it to pattern this thing called Promise Keepers that was going around for men, and I
Mhm.
wanted to do one for teenage boys to teach them to be young men of integrity. Well, God just began to, out of nowhere, open up doors for because I told God, "Hey, look, I'll do anything you want me to do. I'll go anywhere you want me to go. I'm on my own now. Let's go."
Mhm.
And so, outside of the four walls of the church, here we go. And God started opening up doors to do children's camps. And back then, nobody was leading worship at children's camps because they were scared of kids. They didn't know how they were gonna react. And I'm
That
like,
makes
"Okay, well, I'll
sense.
try anything once."
Yeah.
And so, I went to my very first kids camp, and I'll be some of the songs that we were using in the youth group, I was a guitar player and all of that. Now here's the funny thing about that. I've never had a music lesson in my life, never taken a voice lesson, can't read
Really?
music, strike 3, not even supposed to be out there. But God can take the simple, and he can take the foolish to confound the wise, can't he?
Mhm.
And he took that desire in my heart. He knew the desires of my heart before I ever got out there and started, ministering outside the four walls of the church. Well, he started putting me in position to lead kids camps, and there was a connection, Kristen, with children that I never knew that I had until I stepped out on faith. And
Wow.
so it's a lesson on stepping out on faith because it opens up so many new doors for you that you would have never seen. You would have never had those opportunities had you stayed put, had you not stepped out on faith and obeyed the Lord. And then I met a missionary who took my wife and I to Uganda, East
Oh.
Africa, where I got to minister to orphan children. And that's where I got my stage name, Uncle Charlie.
Oh, okay. I just
Yep.
thought you had a lot of nieces and nephews.
In a way, maybe, but yeah. And so, but no, what the deal was is I went and led the worship for over 1,000 orphan children under the care of a ministry called Watoto Child Care Ministries. And Watoto is a Swahili word that means the children. They took orphan children off of the streets that had no parents, no relatives, no nothing, and they built villages for these kids, and they gave them a new mommy that would take care of them, and they supply father figures from the church to go, be that father figure for them, and they train these children in the ways of the Lord, and they train them to be leaders for their country, and
Mm.
it's an incredible ministry, and I got to go 4 years in a row and lead music for that group, and in that country, they speak Swahili, they speak Lugandan, they speak some of the, the tribal tongues and all that, but they also are taught English, and they speak with a British accent when they speak English. It's the cutest
Uh-huh.
thing you've ever heard in your life. And the British it's British colony in Eastern Africa, so
Okay.
they have taught children from day one, you call all adults uncle and auntie as their term of endearment for adults rather than Mr. and Mrs. or ma'am and sir. So I became
Oh,
Uncle Charlie, you would be Auntie Kristen.
I love
Yeah.
that.
Isn't that cool? And
Yeah, that's
so
really cool.
that's where all that started, and then when I came back and I started telling all the kids, I started touring a little bit, doing the music, and when I was telling the kids the stories about the Watoto children, they all started calling me Uncle Charlie, and so boom, there you have it. There's your stage name.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that, and I love that
Yeah.
that came from those orphans and just that's how
Mhm.
they would relate to you, and it stuck. I mean, never knew you had a last name for, like, a few years. I
I
was like,
know, right?
he I thought his first name was Uncle and his last name was Charlie, and I've also had the privilege of seeing you in action because you came to my church when I was a kids worship leader in Atlanta,
Really?
Georgia. Yeah, and you were amazing. It was so
Oh
much
my
fun.
goodness.
Tell me a little bit about traveling and all the things that you've done. What was your favorite thing about that?
I've been fortunate to travel most every state and just share him with kids and using that platform to share Jesus. I always looked at music as more than just entertainment. Matter of fact, I don't even like to use that word, to be honest. It
Mhm,
was a ministry for me, and I always kind of labeled myself as a music missionary because that was my goal, was to share
mhm,
Christ through my music. And one thing about, like, if I go to a camp, for instance, and I had teams that traveled with me, and, they would do all the choreography and the hand motions on stage while I did my thing, and I always try to teach them it's not what you do on the stage, it's what you do off of the stage with those kids as you interact with them throughout the day that lends
absolutely.
credibility to what you do on the stage. If you want them to follow you in worship, you know what? Go out there and be with them. Go out there
That's
and
right.
show them that you care. People don't care how much you know up on the stage until they know how much you care. And so that's always been kind of my mantra. So in my travels, I always gravitate to the underdog kids. I can spot them a mile away, whether they're being neglected, whether they're having a bad day. And so
Mm,
some of my favorite parts about touring for 15 years was when I got to do camps like the Salvation Army camps. And that was just something I would just do. And it was so much fun to be able to give away my music at the end rather than try to sell it because those kids don't have money. But
yeah.
man, it was like Santa had come to town, and I spent more time signing autographs and hugging necks at Salvation Army camps than I have
Wow.
any other camps, and also, camps for refugees, and those were some
Wow.
of the most fruitful camps that we had ever experienced, and so those were really my favorite times, to be honest.
That's amazing, and
Mhm.
I love that you said you're a music missionary because the point
Mm,
isn't to have a really good musical set and everyone to applaud
mhm.
you, it's really to point back to Jesus no matter what.
Amen.
What would you say because I love a lot of your music. I'm a big Uncle Charlie fan, and when I was a
It's
worship
funny.
leader, we would use your music because it was simple, it was upbeat. I
Yeah,
feel like sometimes kids' music gets a little, like,
yeah,
slow and yeah,
yeah.
so we're like, "Put in Uncle Charlie and let's" and so that was always the favorite.
That's funny.
What's your favorite song?
It's funny, there's so many to choose from, but the most popular one, of course, is "Fruit of the Spirit." That's the one that,
Yes.
it's I think that's the song that will never die. You know?
Never.
And I hear, just like you said a minute ago, I hear from more adults who say, "That's how I learned the fruit of the spirit is with your
Like,
song,
I
blah,
have
blah,
to do
blah."
the hand motions when
I
I'm reading
know
my
it.
Bible. Like,
Oh,
you're
yeah, exactly. And I have a 2.5-year-old granddaughter who's doing it right now.
I love
I
that.
mean, it's ageless, you know?
That's right.
And the other one that's probably ageless is making melodies. The making melodies in
Yes.
my heart with the thumbs up.
Great one.
You know where I learned that song? I learned it
Where?
in Uganda, East Africa.
Oh,
When I was
okay.
with they taught me that song. And so, yeah, that's where it came from. That's crazy, isn't it?
That's
It
amazing.
was
I love
back
that.
in the day, yeah. And so those are probably my favorites. I gotta tell you 2 funny stories real quick about
Okay.
songs. It's so funny. Okay, this one kid comes up to her mom, and her mom's telling me the story, and she says, "My little 5-year-old came up to me and says," I think she called me Uncle Chardy, okay? Uncle Chardy. "Can you play Uncle Chardy's turtle song?" Uncle Chardy's turtle song.
Turtle
She's
song.
Yeah,
Okay.
she's thinking through it, but and she goes, "Honey, I don't think he has a turtle song. Is there another name for it?" "No, it's the turtle song. It's the turtle song." And she kept thinking, "Okay, could it be like the 2 by 2 song about Noah's Ark, and he brings in all
Yeah.
the animals? I don't think there was turtles in that song." "No, no, 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 it's the turtle song. It's the turtle song." "Well, how does it go?" "Life is good at turtles, life is better."
Instead of
Life is good,
eternal,
eternal life is
eternal
better.
life.
Got
That
got
does sound
turned
like
around.
turtle. Yeah,
Yeah, it kinda got turned around. And the other one, a
that's
kid came up
good.
to me one time at camp, Kristen, it was so funny. I didn't know how to take it. I still don't know how to take it to this day, but she came up to me and she goes, "I have some bad news, but I have some good news." And I said, "Okay, alright, tell me about it." You never know what's coming, right?
Right.
And she said, "The bad news," she says, "Uncle Charlie," she says, "somebody broke in our car and they stole our CDs out of our car." And I'm like, "Oh, hon, I'm so sorry." And I'm thinking in my mind, "Okay, I'm gonna replace all my CDs. I'm gonna give them to her, blah, blah." I'm
Yeah.
thinking of ways I can help her, right? But before I can even get that thought out, she says, "Oh, but the good news is they left your music." My first thought was, "Not even a thief wants my music. Are you kidding?"
No, you know what? They could see that God's blessing was on that, and they would be convicted if they took that Uncle
Maybe
Charlie.
so, I don't know. But that was hilarious. Those are just 2 of the funny things that happened to me along the way, but 15 years of that, you run through a lot of things, that's for
That
sure.
is amazing. I love that.
But, so I retired from that, like, in 2012, I guess, from all the
Okay.
touring and stuff. The music lives on, but I've
Yes, it
kinda moved
does.
on to monkey things.
So let's talk about your monkey things because I think this is fascinating. So, what is the Carlitos thing all about? Tell us about your monkeys.
Oh,
How
boy.
does it
Yeah,
work?
okay, number 1, they're not real monkeys, okay? Let's
Right.
get that clear. I'll show you a picture here. Can you see
Mm,
Carlitos here? Yeah,
so cute.
this is Carlitos. He's very, very soft. You can see he's got my hair.
Yes.
You can see he's got a notch in his ear right here, and this is on purpose, and I'll tell you about that later, but
Okay.
he's got this "Be Brave" patch right here, and so my idea with Carlitos was, there's a lot of kids out there that are hurting, a lot of kids that are hurting.
Mhm.
There's kids in hospitals, there's kids, that have cancer, kids that are battling leukemia, there's kids that are foster children, there's kids that are being displaced and moved from home to home, there's no stability. There's grieving children that have lost a sibling or lost a parent, kids that are like victims of natural disasters,
Mhm.
we just had a big tornado hit in Oklahoma last night, and I'll be finding out if there were families affected that have children, and they're going to get Carlitos to help them be brave through all
Mm.
of this. And his Be Brave press, this is what separates him from everything else. It's okay to have a comfort animal, and I think it's a beautiful thing to, you can go to the store, Walmart, or whatever, and buy a comfort animal for a kid. But the thing that separates Carlitos from other comfort animals, number 1 is his theme, "Be Brave." He comes with this packet, and this is his Be Brave packet. And in this
Mhm.
Be Brave packet, he's got Be Brave wristbands, he's got Joshua 1:9 stickers, Joshua 1:9 scripture cards, John 3:16 scripture cards. He's got the gospel booklet in here that it's Carlitos just sharing the gospel straight up, okay?
That's
And so
awesome.
I like to use this phrase, he's not just a comfort monkey. He points kids to their ultimate source of comfort, Jesus.
That's right.
And so that's what separates him from other comfort animals, and I
Mhm.
give him away. I'm a 501c3 nonprofit, and I give him away to kids that are in need of any kind. It doesn't matter. Started with kids with special needs, and then
Okay.
it morphed from to all kinds of kids who need the help. And he has proven to be such a ministry tool. I never dreamed in a million years that this would ever take place, but it took some really crazy circumstances to help him come about.
Tell us a little bit about that. What motivated you to start this, to go from music to
Yeah.
this Carlitos ministry and
Mm.
and sharing these comfort animals?
That's a good question because when I was touring in 2007, I'll never forget this. November the 15th, 2007, 2 p.m. in the afternoon, I'm driving to one of my concerts. I'm
Mhm.
going down a two-lane highway in Oklahoma. My concert was in Texas. I was doing 65 going down a two-lane highway. Another car doing 65 was coming the other way, and they, for some reason, I never saw it. They got into my lane and they hit me head on,
Wow.
Kristen, head on, 65 to 0. No skid marks, no nothing. The cars were
Whoa.
fused together. I never saw it come. I don't recall to this day how it happened, but they got into my lane. They didn't survive the accident. There were 2 people and a pet, and, fortunately, I thank God that I was by myself because sometimes I do travel with some of my team members, and
Mhm.
this time they were meeting me there, but, Kristen, I was so trapped inside of my car. I was crushed this way, and I was crushed in this way, and
Mhm.
it felt like that something was going through me. I guess it was the steering wheel or whatever. My hand was literally inside the dashboard. That's how
Wow.
vicious that collision was, 130 to 0, okay?
Mhm.
I woke up, and when I woke up, I couldn't move. I couldn't hardly breathe. Somebody was trying to talk to me from over here and trying to keep me awake. And I'll never forget the paramedics coming out and getting me out of the car, and it took 10 firefighters and paramedics to get me out of the
Wow.
car, over an hour to get me out of the car. And when they finally got me out, I had 20 broken bones,
Wow.
lacerated liver, lacerated spleen, lacerated bunch of stuff, and brain trauma that caused me to stutter and make loud Tourette's noises for 2 years. Isn't that
Wow.
crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so look, I was messed up and I was critical. They didn't know if I was gonna live or die. But here's the cool thing. I'd been doing the music scene long enough to have a lot of ministry friends. Of course, their children's groups knew me and all that. I got hundreds upon thousands of get well cards, letters, wishes, emails, you name it. I've got tubs full that I've kept just as a
Wow.
reminder that kids all over the world loved Uncle Charlie and were praying for him. And that turned out to be the most powerful thing because God healed me. Look, I don't stutter anymore.
No, you're
I don't
great.
no more kung fu panda noises, anything like that. I'd scare people. It was scary, I'm not gonna lie. This hand was useless. I had to learn to write with my left hand, but I got the use back again, and that's the only
Mhm.
scar I've got left was that we had to reconstruct my hand.
Wow.
And so it's a miracle that I'm alive, and it's a miracle that I'm in physically good shape. Yeah, I still have residual, but what that caused me to do, Kristen, is the first leg in the Carlitos ministry because it gave me an empathy for kids with special needs. Because when I was going through the brain trauma, I knew what I wanted to say, and I couldn't get those words out for the life of me.
Mm.
And it made me think about what about other kids who have special needs? Maybe they know what they wanna say. I don't
Yeah.
know, Maybe they wanna say something and they can't get it out. Maybe they would love to get up out of that wheelchair and they can't, you know?
Mhm.
So I quit griping about what I couldn't do, and I focused on and the Lord helped me with this, focused on what I could do. So I learned to write with my left hand instead of my right hand. It was something that
Mhm.
I could do. I learned to type out my feelings rather than try to talk them out. And in time, the less frustrated I got about my situation, the more God healed me, And so it became a healing time. And I began to use that empathy to create a ministry for kids with special needs. So I started with an app called VBG, Valued by God. And it's a free app. You can get it at any app store or whatever. And when they open it up, you see, I knew that I couldn't travel anymore because I still have a lot of residual from the accident. It takes too much of a toll on my body. Plus, I'm not a young pup anymore, okay? Let's just face it. Yeah. So I knew that I couldn't travel to all of these places, but I thought, okay, here's a good way to get Uncle Charlie in the homes of those who may not be able to go to church because of their
Right.
condition, or their church maybe can't handle them because they're not equipped to, or whatever.
Mhm.
But we're kind of bringing the church to these kids that are hurting, right? So I created the app, and thousands upon thousands of kids with special needs started using this app, and they got my music. And now Carlitos wasn't even born yet. So let's fast forward a few more years to 2018.
Mhm.
2018, everything was going great with VBG. And then I got diagnosed with cancer in 2018. And
Wow.
so with my kind of cancer, it took a lot. It took radiation, it took some procedures, and I was in for a procedure. And while I was in for my procedure, my wife's out waiting for me in the waiting room. She gets a call that she's got cancer. And so we're sitting in Moffitt one time, and she's getting her infusions. And I'm sitting here thinking, okay, cancer kids. We've been helping kids with special needs, but how can I
Mhm.
help kids with cancer? And other kids that are in hospitals. Then I started thinking about all these other kind of kids that we could start helping. Well, it's kind of weird to go up to a kid in a room and say, "Hey, you wanna see my app?" You know?
Yeah, right.
So, but I thought, every kid has a comfort animal. Every kid has
Mhm.
a comfort bear. That's when God brought me back to my Uganda, East Africa days. My nickname in Uganda was Monkey Charlie. Because of the hair that's on my arms, they love to play with my hair because they don't grow hair on their arms in Uganda. It's a
Oh.
cultural thing. So they started calling me Monkey Charlie. So but you can call me uncle, okay?
Uncle, we'll keep that one.
So anyway, so God brought me back to that and said, it was like, why not create a comfort monkey? And
Mhm.
that's where the idea of Carlitos was born. And I frame it this way. If you're building a puzzle, you have
Mhm.
pretty pieces, you have ugly pieces. You can't just throw out the ugly pieces or you'll never have a complete puzzle, right?
Right.
Pieces by themselves don't make sense, but they're put together through the master plan where it says, trust the Lord with all of your heart and don't lean on your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge him. He'll make your path straight. He's going to make that beautiful puzzle straight. See?
That's right.
And so those were pieces of my life puzzle that I didn't like very much, but guess what? God worked them together for good, just like he promises in Romans 8:28. He
Yeah.
created a ministry out of adversity. Isn't that the coolest?
That's so cool, and I always love the saying or whatever that God doesn't waste anything. So a lot of
Mhm.
times we'll go through things like, "Why did I have to go through that? Why is this so hard?" But
Yeah.
God is never waste anything, and He can use anything in our life, even a
Mhm.
car crash or a
Mhm.
diagnosis to help other
Mhm.
people. Now tell me about the ear. Carlitos has you said he had a little, like, cut in his ear. What is that about?
I did that on purpose because, there's a lot of kids who don't feel good about themselves and the way that God made them. And I wanted kids to know through the story of Carlitos and through some of his videos that he has on the app now. Oh, by the way, on that app, we've got 25 Carlitos videos where he tells stories.
Oh,
And,
cool.
and one of them is about his self image and how he got made fun of because of this ear. But he learned through scripture that God, says that you're fearfully and you're wonderfully made, and I created you with a purpose. And that no matter who you are, no matter what you look like, no matter what background you come from, no matter what you've been through, God has a purpose for your life. And a matter of fact, he had it before you were ever born, it says in Colossians. And so I'm like,
Yes.
wow, that is so cool. And so that's the message that I wanted to relay through his ear, that you don't have to be perfect to be pleasing to God.
That's amazing. And how many of the Carlitos have you given out?
It's crazy. You're not going to believe this. It started here in Tampa with just a few, and
Mhm.
then it morphed. He's in every state now, all 50 states. In the United States alone, in 7 years, I think the number is over 12,000 now, 12,000 monkeys.
Wow.
And then he spread worldwide. He's in 25 different countries now and has reached over 26,000 children worldwide. Is that crazy?
Wow,
He's
that
in
is
four
amazing.
four languages.
That is incredible. What an incredible ministry, and
I
just
only
how
God,
yeah,
only
and he can
God.
take
Yeah.
something like that and, like, you can't travel all of the world, but he can, like
There you go.
yeah.
That's right, and that's what God did. It's like, "You can't, Charlie, but I can."
Mhm.
And he's able to do exceedingly abundantly whatever we can imagine or think, right?
Yeah.
He can multiply, and it's just incredible to see God's handiwork through my story, and I
Mhm.
hope that my story encourages other people too, because a lot of people may think, God doesn't have a use for me. God can't use me. Even a kid may feel that way, but
Mhm.
God can. If he can use me, guy who knew no music, who didn't know how to read music, he taught myself the guitar, he didn't know what he was doing. If he could use me there, and then he can take a joke about Monkey Charlie and turn it into a ministry.
Yeah.
It's just wild to me what God can do. We serve a big, big God, don't we?
Yes, we
Yeah.
do, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Uncle Charlie, this has been so amazing. I have loved talking with you, and I love learning about your ministry. How can our listeners find out more about the Carlitos ministry and give and find out how they can get your app?
Very cool. Okay, first of all, Carlitos4kids.com. That's the number 4, okay? So
Okay.
Carlitos4kids.com. That's my ministry website, okay?
Okay.
And on that ministry website, if people want to buy Carlitos, they can. If they have a ministry, if they know of a person who needs Carlitos, I don't charge for that. That's a ministry of mine that I feel called to do. So, if any parent out there or any child out there listening to this podcast knows of another child who's struggling, who's going through a hard time, no matter what it may be, a battle of any kind,
Mhm.
they just email me from that website. Matter of fact, I have a form they can fill out. Just tell me about it. I will send you a Carlitos and his gospel pack so that you can minister with Carlitos. To me, that's the ultimate with Carlitos, not just me ministering with him, but enabling and equipping you to minister with
Oh,
him.
I love that.
Yeah, so that's so carlitos4kids.com. You can contact me through there.
Okay.
My email is charlie@carlitos4kids.com. You can find me on Facebook at unclecharliefanpage.com. I've kept
Okay.
my old music page, and now it's all pretty much Carlitos stuff. And I think Carlitos on Mission is on Instagram.
I love that, and
Yeah.
I encourage all of our listeners to check you out and to learn more about your music. If you haven't heard, we're gonna put the link for the Fruit of the Spirit song in the show notes, so you can go listen to it right after this
Too
episode.
funny.
Thank you so much for sharing your story today. It's been
You got
such
it.
a pleasure. Before I let you go, I always ask my guests to tell me a memory from when they were a kid, so I'm really
Ah.
excited to hear this story. What have you got for us?
Okay. Well, this goes back to what we just talked about
Okay.
the whole self-image thing. When I was a kid, I had 3 strikes against me. Number 1, single parent family. Number 2, very poor. We even went bankrupt when I was 16 years old. Number 3, I was so short. I was so small. I got bullied, I got picked on until I learned to wrestle in high school. Hey, another story then. I used to gripe and complain to my mom about being too small. God didn't know what he was doing when he made me so small. And my
Yeah.
mom would try to encourage me, Kristen. She would say, "Honey, it's how big your heart is." And she said all the right things, right?
Mhm.
But it never really clicked. I'm just like,
Mhm.
yeah, but way to go, God, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Well, fast forward 40 years later, go to the accident that I was in. Remember, I told you I was
Mhm.
crushed in that car and it took them over an hour to get me out? I'm laying on the gurney. I'll never forget this as long as I live. While I'm on the gurney getting ready to go on the helicopter, one of the paramedics looked at me and he said, "You better thank God you're small." He said, "Because if you are any bigger or any taller," he
Mhm.
says, "you would not have survived this accident. No way,
Wow.
because you would have been crushed to death. You better thank God that you're small." And then immediately, you know what the first thought that came to my mind was? "Thank you, Lord, for making me so small. You knew what you were doing all along, and I knew it too. Yeah, you way to go, God."
Yeah.
Of course, I was high on adrenaline at the time too.
Right,
But anyway,
right.
yeah. But yeah, isn't that a neat lesson? Because now
Yes.
I can look back and say, you know what? The thing that I disliked the most about myself, God used to save my life. And if he hadn't have, Carlitos ministry wouldn't be here.
That's right.
VBG ministry wouldn't be here. So I tell every kid out there that, you know what? Sometimes we don't feel too good about ourselves because we may compare ourselves to others. We may listen to those voices in our head or whatever. But you know what? You listen to what God says about you. And what
That's right.
God says is that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. And he created you with a purpose and a plan in mind. He is going to use you. You just have faith in him and trust him day by day that he's going to work it out. And he's going to use your life for his glory and for your good.
Amen. I love that. And that's so incredible how, you're able to understand. Because sometimes I think there's things we don't like about ourselves that later we're like, I still don't understand why this is part of who I am. But God
Sure.
showed you, you complained all of these years and here you are today. Thank you so much for being on the show today, Uncle Charlie. This was awesome.
Thank you so much, Kristen. I appreciate being here. God bless you.
How fun was that getting to hear from Uncle Charlie? Such an incredible testimony. I love how he talked about God taking all of the pieces of his life like a puzzle, and not all the pieces sometimes make sense, but all connected together, God was able to put it all together to bless others and to give God glory. That's amazing. I love when he was sharing about the Carlitos monkey and how it's ministering to kids who are facing life's toughest battles. And the purpose of that monkey, that comfort monkey, is to point hurting kids to their ultimate source of comfort, which is Jesus. That's such a good reminder for us today that Jesus is the best source of comfort for anyone who is hurting. I am such a huge fan of Uncle Charlie's songs, and I love knowing that he considered himself a music missionary. If you've never listened to his music before, go check out his songs on YouTube or Spotify or wherever you get music. The Fruit of the Spirit song is going to be in the show notes, so you can click on that and listen right now. But I also recommend Making Melodies and Life is Good, aka the Turtle song, like you talked about before, and my personal favorite, Happy and You Know It. If you know, you know. Well, this has been such a special episode. And listen, my prayer is that something from today's conversation sticks with you this week and inspires you to love God more. Like Uncle Charlie said today, listen to what God says about you. Don't listen to everything else. Listen to what God says about who you are. Trust in him to use your life for his glory and your good. Amen. That's such a good word. Thanks for listening today. And if you're a parent or you have a parent or you know of a parent who considers themselves a busy person and needs some encouragement, I want to invite you to check out my other podcast, 7-Minute Devotions for Busy Parents. I think it will really be a blessing to you. Well, we will see you back next week for another great episode of the Collide Kids podcast. Thanks for listening. You know, raising kids in the digital age isn't easy, but Bark Technology makes products that help parents keep their kids safe online and in real life. They have an app, a phone, and a home device that lets families set parental controls on their internet-connected devices. I love the app because it helps us manage screen time and blocks websites and apps we want our kids to avoid. It also sends alerts and gives us the ability to monitor texts and social media and even track your child's location. Visit bark.us to learn more about how you can keep your kids safe online. Use the code COLLIDEKIDS to get 15% off your subscription of the Bark app.